everyone. It's your host, Crystal Swearingen, back again with Crystal Spot Podcast. I'm super excited. We have a new guest today, Miss Kelli Jones. Kelli Jones is a virtual lawyer for entrepreneurs and small business owners and has been practicing law for over 8 years. And we keep them busy with these contracts. So I'm super excited to talk to her about all things today. One of the things that we're really going to focus on today is one of her specialties. She does trademarks, contracts, and she started her own firm in 2020 because she wanted to make the legal a little less boring. So at least you admit it, and encourage business owners to protect themselves early to save time, money, and stress. Where were you when I needed you in 2022? But I'll digress for now. This is such an important conversation, listeners. I know you guys have been reading the magazine for a while, and you kind of have seen some of the stuff that we've gone through and the different businesses I've had. And honestly, having a good lawyer and having a good contract that you understand is so important. So thank you so much for being on our show today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to chat.
So what made you leave corporate law kind of to start your own venture? Tell us your story.
Yeah, so I actually was working at a private firm for a couple of years prior to starting my own business. And I was going to court every single day in downtown Brooklyn. It was a lot of commuting, also just spending a lot of hours per day in court. Um, and I didn't like it at all, actually. I hated going to court, and I wanted to do something that involved a type of law that you didn't have to go to court every day. So then, height of the pandemic, June 2020, courts were closed. Business at the firm I was at was slowing down, and I ended up getting let go from that. And at first, I started applying to other jobs, but with the experience I had, it was like other jobs that also involved going to court. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, you know what? I don't want to do this. I don't want to go from one job I didn't like to another that I also probably won't like. So I just pivoted to starting my own firm and going out into trademarks and contracts, and doing that primarily, online, um, especially because it was during the pandemic when we started. And it's been so much better. I love this area of law so much.
And you get to help people, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, obviously all lawyers help people. So I'm not disclaimer there for those who are listening. But I love what you were saying. Like so many people don't realize that the small investment in, let's say, trademarking something can save so much money and time in the future. So what are some things that you've seen since you've gone into this virtual lawyering and helping different entrepreneurs? Because I know with social media and us all being like on Instagram, you don't think about how to protect your intellectual property.
Yeah. So, when it comes to legal stuff, there's like a lot of areas of law where like you go find a lawyer when something happens and you need a lawyer, like if there's some type of criminal case or some type of personal injury or something, like the event happens and then you go to look for the lawyer. But when it comes to this with your business, all of these things are the opposite. You have to go to the lawyer, or you don't have to, but you should go to the lawyer and get the legal protection before something happens, because it's basically all preventative. So the person that, handles the legal side of their business earlier on, the point of it, it doesn't mean nothing will ever go wrong in your business, no legal things will happen to you, but it means that if something bad does happen, or even like remote, like, a little bit bad, you will be in the best position so it doesn't hurt as much. It doesn't cost as much money, it doesn't cost as much time, and it doesn't cause as much stress.
Yeah.
So that is pretty much the whole point of the legal, to like do it now so you can not have to worry as much down the line.
Have you had some examples of people who maybe thought, well, oh, I own this, I got the domain, and that wasn't enough?
Yeah. Yeah, so that happens a lot because, I think people think that when they start something, they have to either, usually the first steps are like, I'm going to get the domain, I'm going to get the social media handles, and I'm going to get my LLC. And then I've secured the name and no one else can have it. But that is like probably one of the biggest misconceptions that I see with business owners. The LLC is a great thing. Not saying don't get it, definitely a good thing to have. But that is what is protecting your personal assets should anything go wrong. So, like, if you get sued, if you have creditors, anything like that. But it really has nothing to do with the name of your LLC. You can name your LLC like 123 XYZ LLC. Like it doesn't matter. The point of the LLC is to protect your personal assets, but a trademark is what secures ownership over that name, that, which typically is what comes before the LLC in a person's business name. It secures ownership over that name in connection with whatever goods or services you have. So, you're not getting ownership over it entirely where you own the name and then no one else can use it for absolutely anything, but you're getting it so no one can come up with a business name that's either the same or similar to you within the same area, because the whole point of the trademark is to prevent people from being confused. So, for example, like the business Apple, like they have, they're in tech, software, computers, all that kind of stuff. Like they're not going to allow another business to come up with Apple Tech or like Apple fruit, or even like another fruit name like banana or something for phones, like that. People would be confused. We'd be like, oh, like, are they going down the alphabet? Like apple, banana, what's next? Like cantaloupe. So we'd be confused and we'd think like, oh, maybe they're connected. So that's the whole point of a trademark. And this is one of the biggest things that I see with business owners is that they have the LLC and they don't realize that they need the trademark until someone else pops up that is similar. And then, it happens in a number of different ways. Sometimes they're getting hit with a cease and desist by someone else that already has that name, maybe filed for a trademark first. Sometimes the other person doesn't realize, but a customer comes to you and they're like, oh, this account popped up on TikTok with the same name and they're selling like very similar products to you. Or like, this came across, I saw this in an ad and like I was confused. I thought it was you for a second. I see a lot of that kind of stuff because it's not just the same name that can be an issue. It's also, like I said, anything that's similar enough to potentially be confusing. So that's really where the issue lies. And when that happens, if someone else, let's say that person that sends you the cease and desist, if they had filed before you, that's where it's going to start costing you a lot of money to either fight for it or just kind of give up because they got it first and rebrand, which also is
lots of money.
Right. It costs money. It costs, diving into this brand that you've been building. So that's the biggest thing.
That's so interesting. I had an experience when I first got into real estate. I chose like a neighborhood to prospect in and I put everything out there and the neighborhood association said, you can't use our name. I'm like, you haven't trademarked it. It's a neighborhood name. There are streets named after it. People have to be able to use it. But, I was 20. I won't say my age actually, but it was some time ago, but yeah, but I never even realized the different intricacies because you're right. And I love that the biggest misconception business owners have, you said, thinking that the domain, the social media and the LLC is protecting their brand identity, which is what the trademark would be, because I hear that all the time. Like I've got the GoDaddy. So obviously I own it. And so what should I do if I come up with an idea? Let's say I want to open Crystal Clear shopping, whatever store. And once you have that idea, is there a way for them to contact a lawyer for you to research to see if that's available? Or is there a way because they might be available on my state, Secretary of State, to register the LLC, but that doesn't mean the name is available, if that makes sense.
Right. Because when you go to look for an LLC, that's typically only in your state. But the trademark is federal. So it really, it doesn't really matter what your LLC like website, state website says is available or not. So there's a number of ways that people can do this. One way is to go to a lawyer and have them do a search. Basically, this is also the first step of the actual trademark process. We use this like full search to really assess the risk level of your mark because we don't want to waste time and money filing or even just continuing with building your brand on something that is potentially going to cost you down the line. Someone else has it, your trademark's going to get refused or is likely to be refused. We don't want to waste the time and money doing that. So we'd rather know up front. So we do that full search and it uses like algorithms and stuff to also look because like I said, not just identical, but also anything, even
Similar.
even things that are completely different words, but they have a similar meaning as a word, you know, like school and society, like they kind of might mean the same thing, collective, like, you know, those words that are kind of convey a similar meaning can
Mhm.
be an issue. So that's why it uses algorithms to look for everything. That way we can kind of give you like a risk level of, okay, this is going to be like a low risk name. This is good to use, you know, or maybe this is too high risk. Maybe you want to tweak it, or maybe just completely change it because you might be potentially infringing. And you'd rather know that earlier rather
Upfront.
than, you know, build
Yeah.
your brand for 3 years and then find it out. So that is like the ultimate, the best way to do it. There's also, you know, on the trademark website, you can do a free search yourself, just Googling the USPTO website. Um, it, they're changing it soon, so it's probably gonna be a different link anyway. So just Google USPTO search, and you can use that when you're just like maybe brainstorming names to kind of see maybe what's out there. It's not perfect. This is just a free search, so it'll just give you results for exactly what you type in. So obviously, it's not going to come up with things that are spelled differently or have, you
Mhm.
know, a similar
Similar.
meaning or something
Yeah.
like that. But it's still a good starting point that you can use as like a free resource for when you're just getting started.
Is there a way, like with the rise of social media, and I know you do a lot of online businesses too, if you don't have a product and service, but you have a intellectual property of, let's say, online coaching, what are some, do you work with people who have like maybe online coaching services to make sure that their contracts are really valid?
Yeah. So coaches and online business owners are a big portion of my clients for contracts and trademarks. You know, one of the biggest things for them is that client contract to make sure it's really protecting them because intellectual property, you know, one of the biggest pieces, of course, that
Yeah.
you want to make sure your intellectual property is protected with whichever way it's going. If you're coaching people, you want to make sure that, you know, they're not going to take your frameworks or ideas and stuff like that and just, or even any material that you provide through your coaching and then, you know, either copy and paste it, something like that, and resell it as their own. Like you want them to use it to help build their business or, you know, do their fitness plan or like, you
Mhm.
know, whatever it is that you're coaching them on, but you don't want them to take it and like resell it as their
Yeah.
own product or
Like
anything like that.
whitelisted or yeah.
Right.
Like,
So
oh, I came up with
that's one
this
of the
now.
biggest things. Yeah, that's a big thing that I see happening. So that's a great reason for why you'd want to use a solid contract.
Oh, you are seeing other people is it white labeling? Is that what the word is?
Yes. Yeah. So a lot what I see happen typically is someone will be selling some type of digital product like
Mhm.
a course or an ebook or something like that, or like, you know, email scripts or something like that. And someone will purchase them and then they'll think that what they've purchased the whole thing themselves. So then they can take it, put
Oh,
their
they
own
think
name
they're a
on it.
like franchisee of the concept.
Yeah. And then you know, typically if someone purchased it and is like, oh wait, I already purchased this through someone else, it'll get back to the original person, and that's
Mhm.
how it kind of gets figured out. So, you know, aside from the client contract, because obviously every time you have a digital product, you're not going to make someone sign a contract back and forth before
Yeah.
they buy it, but you can have them agree through like a little checkbox that they're agreeing to these terms and conditions. And in that, that is where well, essentially your whole contract is, but those are your digital product terms and conditions containing also your intellectual property terms. That way, you know, you're saying like I'm giving you a license for this. I'm giving you a license to use it for whatever educational, informational purpose, but I'm not giving you the license to resell it. That
Yeah.
way, at least you have some type of written remedy to, you know, say against that person, like, okay, you agreed to this contract by
Mhm.
checking that box, even though, you know,
We all
maybe
just
they didn't
check
read it,
boxes
but
or yeah. The
yeah,
best is when it actually makes you click the terms and condition, like, no, I'm in a hurry. Just go ahead and, do the thing.
I know.
So do you help people with their verbiage in order to make sure that their contracts and their website or wherever they're doing the digital content is compliant?
So I do like custom contracts. You know, if someone needs something and they want me to draft it specifically for whatever their business is. But I also have contract templates, which is kind of just more of a cost-effective way
Yeah.
for them, like if they are an online business owner, to get access to a template. Like if they're a coach, if they're an online service provider, selling some type of digital product, these templates are, only a couple hundred versus hiring me to do it specifically for you might be like 1,000, a little more. So these are good ways where the contract is there for you, and then you just have to customize it with my instruction booklet, which usually only takes like 15 minutes, just to make sure that it's specifically customized to you. And one thing is I always try to make my contracts not too much legal jargon in it, because like you said earlier, like I want everyone, you should know what's in your contract, what it's saying. So I try to make it as like easy and like readable as possible, and also with the instructions, so in every clause why that's actually even there. Because sometimes I get people saying like, oh, my contract is long, can I just like cut this clause out? And I'm like, no, like I get it
for a reason.
but they're all there for a reason. So
you'd be surprised. I do real estate. That's my professional career, and I own a real estate brokerage. And so many times I'm like, there's no way you have read like these documents I send to you to sign. So one of the things that we've done for education with clients is meeting with them before we ever sign anything and going over the paperwork. Because then I feel like dead conscious that they've had a copy of it. I've educated them. They have a sample copy. And then when I send it to them, it's not their first time just saying, yep. Because it's amazing how we've gotten so used to just signing things without reading them. And that's why I think it's really important for people who have these businesses to not fall for, oh, get this for free or go on here. And I love your little legal cheat sheet you have on your website. You guys have to check out our website. I'll give you a plug, and I'll have to put the information below, because there's some great like business starter checklists, legal checklists, things that you should be thinking of. Besides what what font you want and what color logo and all the things that we're looking forward to when you're starting your new business. What would be some tips you would have with someone who's looking to start their business in, let's say for the new year, they're like, hey, I'm going to launch this coaching. Obviously we know domain, social media, LLC is one thing. And we know the trademark. What are some other things that they should do in terms of business? Like, let's say you're bringing on a partner. Do you recommend contracts between partnerships, or how, and do you do any of that, or is that not something that you do at this point?
Yeah, so typically that's not something I do, but if you do have a partner, I definitely recommend having some type of written agreement. The reason I don't do that is because you're going to want it drafted by a lawyer that is in your state, because that, like, trademarks, that's federal, so it doesn't really matter if you're in a state that's different than my state. But for partnerships agreements, things like that your state law is going to govern that. So you want a local lawyer to do that and make sure everything is like fully in place, because a lot of the legal is like, okay, everything's going great now, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be that way in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. And the same with partnerships. You can trust someone, love someone, so much, but you never know. You just never know what could happen to something, a relationship, anything in the future. So you just want to protect yourself as much as possible, because really, like, the point of it is it can prevent miscommunication, because everything is in writing. You're just like, you're coming to your agreements on everything now, rather than getting in an argument over something later on.
Exactly.
So that is definitely, that's definitely one of the biggest things to do if you're starting. And then also to definitely recommend, typically what I say for like online business owners and coaches, like your first priority as a business owner really should be that client contract, because the first thing you're probably going to want to do is take clients. So make sure you get that client contract, before worrying about like having a photo shoot or like even your logo.
My branding photo shoot should go second.
Right. Because this is what's going to potentially, cost you more money and problems if you don't have it. So it's better to just get it up front, and then you have it, you're done. You can use it with all your clients.
I love that. And I'm so glad. Timing is always the best, because, I was just thinking, like, I need to call you about these client contracts as we start doing new things. And you guys, make sure you check out her website, kellijonslaw.com. I mean, a wealth of information. I will say probably one of the best done websites I've seen recently, with so many tips and tools. It talks about social media. It has like a mini course on those things. So you're also running an online academy. What more do you do in your online academy that you can tell our listeners about?
Yeah, so I have some like I basically have like, my legal services side
Mhm,
of things, and then I have my like more business or like educational side of
mhm,
things. And that, I have different ones. Like there's one I have on my website with my friend that's like more for TikTok, and then one for more other social media. Just because I've been marketing on social media
mhm.
for my firm for 3 years, but I was actually marketing on social media as a part-time fitness coach, spin instructor and stuff
Wonderful.
for years before I started my firm. So I've kind of seen it from all different angles.
Mhm.
And I also just really like using social media. And I find that a lot of people don't like it or don't find it as like
They're
fun and
nervous.
easy as me. Yeah. So I'm like, I want to try to help people as much as I can with that because social media has been such a big benefit for my
Mhm.
business.
So as we wrap up, this is my new question I'm asking people, what are your personal goals for 2024 and what are your professional goals for 2024?
So my professional goals are to speak at a conference, at a like live in-person conference,
Wonderful.
because so far I've only done virtual ones.
Uh-huh.
So now that everything's going back to being, live, in person, is my goal there. And personal, I'm actually planning to move to Nashville in the beginning of January. So
Oh.
just focusing on moving to a completely different state and, building a community there.
And because I creeped on your site, which I will tell you guys, with all of you that have websites that sell products or services, like put something that makes people want to know more about you because people work with people they know, like, and trust. Like, so I know Nashville is your all-time favorite city because you posted that. Ireland's your favorite country. I don't know if that's been changed, but it's so good because then it makes, I mean, talking about contracts and law and protecting your business is not as fun. But when I know, okay, well, this person's approachable, personable, and knowledgeable, like it makes you want to work with someone else. Where do you live currently?
I'm in New York.
Oh, okay. So you're going to go to that no state sales tax state. You're my
I
third
mean,
third New Yorker interview today, so it must be just
oh
the
wow,
day
that's
for
so
New York
funny.
in the house. Well, that is wonderful. Where can people find you? Obviously, we know you're on social media. Where are your accounts, and can you give us all your information?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at lawyer Kelly, Kelly with an I underscore, and also on TikTok at lawyer Kelly with an I with no underscore there.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And this is very great information. And you guys check out her website. Like I said, she has great tips. You can download the free legal cheat sheet and other great resources for you to know as we start preparing for our goals for 2024. Make sure that trademarking your intellectual property is one of them. Thanks so much,
Yeah.
Kelly.